The Philippines has posted its worst economic slump on record, plunging the country into its first recession in nearly 3 decades. GDP plunged 16.5% in the second quarter from a year ago. Economic activity has been battered by strict coronavirus lockdown measures. The government now expects the economy to contract 5.5% this year, worse than initial projections. The bleak showing comes on top of a 0.7% contraction in the previous quarter. That was the first negative growth in 2 decades. The second quarter data is significantly worse than what economists had predicted, even though a deeper contraction had already been expected. Now, Metro Manila and neighboring provinces went into lockdown during that period, and the economic damage has been high. Government data shows that the first 45 days of the lockdown have resulted in output losses of around $22 billion, and that's roughly 5.6% of GDP. And Sherry Regalado joins us live for more. So, Sherry, which sectors were the hardest hit, and do we know what the government's plans are for recovery?
All right, you know what, Glenda, for the second quarter of 2020, only one sector grew, and this is the agriculture, forestry, and fishing sector, and it grew by 1.6%. Now, the main contributors to the decline were manufacturing, construction, and transportation sectors. This is because during the enhanced community quarantine, or ECQ, only the production of essential goods for the manufacturing sector was allowed, while public transportation and flights were suspended. The construction sector was only allowed to operate in the second week of May, but only for essential projects. Now, acting socio-economic planning Secretary Carl Chu assessed the decision to place a big part of the economy under the ECQ came with a great cost to the economy, as it shut down around 75% of the economy. He, however, reiterates that strict lockdown measures were worth the lives saved, as it prevented around 1.3 to 3.5 billion COVID-19 cases. Now, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says that the economic managers have already put together a phased and adaptive recovery program. The national budget for the next year has been recalibrated, and the government is resuming its key infrastructure program, the Build, Build, Build program. Now, the palace and economic officials are calling out the Congress to pass 2 key legislation to help with the economic recovery.
Right, so the government is doing their best to help with the economic recovery. Thank you so much for that. Sherry Regalado speaking to us from Manila.